Hello and welcome to a special edition of The New Frontier. It's a special edition because we are talking about probably the most topical thing. It's been on the lips of everyone in the industry in the last 2 weeks, and that is ChatGPT 4o's image generations breakthrough. And to help us dissect it all, not only as always do we have Joe, but we also have Sim. Sim runs an eight-figure business with 11 private label brands. He's got 8 years of Amazon experience. He's, known maybe for his participation in the Main Image Monthly show with Danny McMillan, and also is going to be presenting at Seller Sessions. But he really knows Amazon inside and out. So, Sim, welcome. How's it going?
Hi, Max. Hi, Joe. Thanks for having me
Hi.
on. It's been a long time in the works, this, so it seems like a good timing to be on now.
Yeah, and we had to bring it forward because actually I think your expertise is required right now because everyone's talking about how is AI finally good enough? Have we hit that inflection point? But maybe Joe, I'll turn to you because I know you've been working a lot on this. What's happened with ChatGPT and why is kind of all this buzz kind of started now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have had my brains blown away several times in the last couple of weeks, just by testing ChatGPT. So, in essence, ChatGPT has updated their 4o model with new image generation capabilities. Now, if you have been playing around with ChatGPT for the last, what is it, 2.5 years, you know that sort of some of the initial models they used for image generation were the DALI 3 models, which were, let's call them functional, but not in any way realistic, or you could like create sort of like more, how can I say, cartoonish style images, but nothing really photorealistic. So the go-to for most people in the industry in terms of image generation in general were platforms like Midjourney, obviously Max's Ecom10, a lot of different platforms. But now with ChatGPT's new update of this 4o model, you can literally upload a product image of any product and it will create an exceptionally photorealistic image with the product, in whatever context you want it to be, in whatever format you want it to be. You can also use several product images, so you can, for example, have a different like product range. I've experimented with taking just a phone camera image of a product, and you can create a pretty alright 3D renders. You can create image assets for all platforms. Today I'm actually posting on LinkedIn about using OpenAI's like ChatGPT for creating GIFs with products. So like, and then obviously to add to that, then you can combine it with the power of Sora and make it like any sort of image come to life with a short 5 to 10 second video. So you can like with pretty okay success convert these into video ads. So it's just an insane opportunity for anyone who works in the space. I've been posting about this daily because I genuinely like, I'm super excited. I'm working with clients now on creating these assets for them. And I think it will just, I would say, the most hated word for anyone using AI, but revolutionize our our space. And so, yeah, I'm very excited.
I mean, from my perspective, it feels like a real watershed moment. And we have been training image models, since 2022, since Stable Diffusion V1, as you know, and previously in e-content, we had this horrible mix of Stable Diffusion V4 would be on some categories and we'd have Flux images on some categories. And you kind of we would have like a huge basis of different fine tuning on different models because we worked out okay, furniture is good here, and supplements is good for this, and we kind of had patched all of this together. And then yes, ChatGPT 4o I think really hit a watermark where basically almost everything is photorealistic, and we're actually now using Google Image Gen, which in my view is even better. But Sim, I guess I'll turn it to you. Obviously you're the man who's running this massive empire of businesses. Do you think AI images has now reached that point where it's usable?
Yeah, so I think Joe was pretty polite about DALL-E 3 and how it was pretty awful, let's be honest. It was, I reckon it had to be pretty embarrassing for OpenAI as a product, because everything else they do is pretty cutting edge. They're sort of the Apple, aren't they, of the AI world. They don't necessarily go first, but they have the most polished version for the most part. And I think, this is almost an embarrassing point for them. And it must be tough for them as well to be holding on to this thing that's coming and not tell anyone. I don't know if you saw Sam Altman tweet, like he actually tweeted, you guys aren't even ready for image gen 2, ... So even he's like losing his cool now. So yeah, I couldn't believe it when it first came out. I saw the LinkedIn stuff before I actually played with it myself. I genuinely just stunned. There's not a day that's gone by in the last year or so where AI hasn't surprised me in some way. But this was, as you say, Max, a bit of a watershed moment. And it was 2 days before seeing that tool that our designer was playing around with Google's. It's Google's image gen, isn't it? Yeah, and I said that's the best I've seen. Like what he was generating, the speed of it, and just the polished nature of how everything looks there. I was just again blown away. And now it's now down to people to be to have high agency themselves now and to use these tools in the best way. Luckily for me, I've got a team that is geared around that. They're smart. The designer himself, like I said, he was using AI. Even though technically this could push him out of a job in time, but he seems to be if he's the one that's in there using it and making tweaks afterwards, he's future-proofing himself that way. And then strong team, and it gives me then time to my focus is gone. It's giving me time then to play around with AI tools myself. I'm just going to swap my camera around, Max.
So Sim, and I do want to let Joe jump in with a question, but like my big question is, I mean, full disclosure, I know you've played with e-content maybe in the past 6 months ago. You guys are like super premium in terms of your images. It wasn't good enough. Is this image model now? Are we now at a point where you're applying this in the business? Have we reached that point?
It will be good enough for D2C ads, whether we want them as an untouched secondary image. Can't see it just quite yet. I think e-content sort of built for big brands that want to go at scale, where we're not, we don't have like that many.
We don't need to, I was just we don't need to try and push you. I'm just wondering, like, I'll be the first to admit, like 6 months ago, the image models weren't as good as they are today. I'm wondering, like, have we reached that point? But yeah, sorry, carry on.
So to generate a secondary image, like, and bang, it come out perfect, even with the best prompt, is unlikely. There'll always be some sort of touching up that needs to happen, and sometimes a product, even if you give it a perfect render or whatever, it will still mess the logo around or something. But what it is giving great inspiration for your designer then to touch it up, and also come up with new ways of laying things out that we might not have thought of before. A whole new and the way you can just put a previous like ad in there and then your product, and so just make it in that style. I mean, that would take a designer ages. So it's incredible in how it does that. We've used it for A+ content quite a bit already. We've got one brand at the moment that's UK. It's got a UK supplier, so our lead times are hilariously fast. You order it and it's in FBA in 3 days. So we have to move quickly with creatives in that brand. And so we've leveraged AI quite nicely there. And that's a big part of the A+ content is pretty much all AI generated at this point. Sponsored brand ads, stuff like this. Again, we've had great success with those. All of those are on image gen, though. We haven't quite used them with ChatGPT yet. We're still sort of playing, but I think the combination of AI and human is still important. I think we're still at that stage, but the way it's coming on is incredible. Honestly, this tool is insane. Some of the stuff we started using it. We started using deep research to come up with the prompt to then force to then get the image to generate, and I've been playing around with that, and some of the results are incredible, because it just deep research is another insane tool. GenSpark, all these other ones are just mad. So I think the combination of it all coming together at one point is quite exciting.
Okay, so I think we just covered a lot, but like let's sort of unpack a little bit. So let's talk about a point which you made, which is around the combination of human and AI. So how does that work in your team? What exactly is the process to get to a point where you are happy with the output? Like what is the symbiosis and how does it work?
Yeah, so we have a pretty simple flow now in the creatives department. So I have pretty much got myself out of it all the day-to-day running of the business for the most part. I just do the things that I like doing. So one of these is to have my hand in creatives, and the other is like product launches, product research, this kind of thing. So in the business, someone will normally a brand manager or brand director will request a creative change. It goes onto ClickUp. I will then approve it as a project that's worth doing, and then the person that submits the case will create a detailed brief, essentially, of what they want, and then it's up to the lead designer, who's called Simon. He will then look at it, assess it, and try and get it done the best quality that he can and as quick as possible. So when it comes to full imagery design, so secondary, like a new product, let's say, with the secondary images, the A+, that's where he's leveraging AI to try and speed things up, or help him in the 3D render process, perhaps, or the layout inspiration for a main image. It could be like assistance in how to make the product packaging look. It's I say at this point it's more inspiration that he can then fine tune on, and taking a little bit out of his a little bit of the thought process away, so that he can focus on the design work.
And does he, I'm really curious, like, does he use AI to like spark some of the, I guess, the inspiration behind the concept, or does the concepting still happen by the human and then just the sort of the prototyping is done by AI?
So the brand managers and brand directors, they will sometimes just create an AI image themselves. It might not be great, but it will give an idea of what they want for that image. So I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say it's let's say it's a garlic press, right? They want it in a certain place in a kitchen. They want the kitchen to be laid out in a certain way. They'll just AI generate that, and then it'll be up to Simon then to go in and make it fit that part of the brief. Before that, how would a brand director or brand manager actually lay that image out? It'd be very difficult. They'd have to draw it basically to do it, and that's never going to work. Creatives are creative for a reason. I can barely draw a stick man. So it really has sped things up incredibly. And then not only that, you can then use the deep research again to create an even better brief that gives Simon all the details that he needs in text form too. The things that we want to highlight.
So I'm interested in kind of two things, and so this is like a two-part question. But firstly, I think it's really fascinating to understand on like a item by item basis, and you understand Amazon better than any of us. Probably better than many people, better than me. I worked there for 6 years, because you've actually sold it and grown like a very impressive business, which is fundamentally like focused on Amazon. So you really understand that platform, and like I'm curious, like what assets you think are good enough to be AI now, and what assets you're still maybe it's kind of 6 months, a year away, or whatever it will be. I mean, you touched upon it on the A+ content. We've pre-image gen, which is 10x better than the previous kind of Google model, and also the Flux model we're using. We had lots of customers just using it for A+ content because they saw the speed and the scale is super important. Just to like some A+ content is better than no A+ content. But how do you like break down the importance of the asset? Obviously, main image is most important, and we'll come on to talk about that. But like, how do you break it down, and where is it like human and you need a full designer, and then AI automation?
So I'll be upfront. So we still have a 4-man design team, and I've just literally hired one at 10 a.m. this morning. So he'll be the fourth. Yeah. Quite. He's only 22. It's going to be good find. But anyway, so in terms of where we leverage AI, then, so the main image, we render everything that we do. So Simon was brought in as a 3D renderer, actually, like a 3D artist, and then happened to be good at all the other stuff. We did. It's a complete bonus that happened. So he physically gets the product. He'll render it and then create the main image. And he was creating very photorealistic images to start with, and then over time he sort of sits next to me in the office, and we've just slowly got his skills up where he can take a realistic render and create an Amazon main image that's punchy and gets all the key points across. And yeah, that's now a real skill set of his. So the main image essentially is all done by human right now. Now there might be like a tag or a little accessory or something that we use AI to generate. But then when we get to the secondary images and A+, we don't pay for Shutterstock anymore. We don't use stock images at all. We just generate them. I don't know if Shutterstock are a listed company, but if they are, sell them. They're done. It's finished. So you just basically we're just generating things that we want, the exact angles of things we want, and that's a nice, if you generate this image, you can then go to ChatGPT and say, I want this woman in a slightly lower down angle and a hand held a bit wider or whatever, and it will start tweaking things around. So that's where AI has really helped us in speeding up exactly the stock image that we want, that then they can maybe put the picture in the product in their hand with the right angle. Like I said, trying to get the exact product in a hand. A bottle's fine. A lot of the UGC content you see on LinkedIn tends to be a bottle because it's very easy to do that. It can fit in a hand easily. They can retouch the label. It's easy. But when you're doing a bigger product or a more complicated product, it's much harder to do that. So you still need the humans there. So that's essentially where we've leveraged it. Main images are still 85% human, and then it goes down the chain. So secondaries will be 50-50 probably, and then A+ is barely any. It'll be reusing human touches, but a lot of that is AI generated now.
Yeah. Have you found that actually, because I've been experimenting a lot, and I found that with some products it just isn't working, and in certain contexts it just is not working. Like, what are your findings from that point of view?
We plan to be, or if it wasn't for supply chain issues, we would be the biggest chopping board brand in the country right now. And trying to get that particular product to work with AI, no, best of luck. It's not going to happen. Like the logo will change, the grooves on the board will change. They'll get the dimensions wrong. There's a lot that goes into it. Like the food. Actually, the food on the board displays quite nicely, but there's a lot that goes wrong with that. But like I said, with a simpler product like a bottle or supplement, something like this, it's easy. It's good at that, and there were people well ahead of the curve, well ahead of ChatGPT doing this. There's a few companies like Make UGC was one of them that had that set up a while ago. And any larger product that has to fit in two hands, that's when it gets a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Because I've been trying to AI generate Gordon Ramsay holding one of my boards for a while now, and I'm struggling.
You're probably going to get a special call from Gordon.
Yeah. It was just for a TikTok piece, but we'll see.
So I guess my next question is, obviously you are speeding up a lot of these elements. What are you actually doing with the extra time? Do you feel that the company maybe 10 years ago would have had 10 graphic designers and you now only have 5, or are you producing more content, or like how are you, what are you spending that extra time to save on? Or are you only hiring people?
We used to have 6, now we have 3, and that's going to go up to 4. So what we're doing is just giving the team more time to do things, and then going back and redoing older products that maybe didn't get the time they deserved in the past. It's it's the design team is going to cost us X amount, and we're agreed to that, and we're going to commit to that, and we just want to get the most out of them. So obviously the more they do, it's not about time save, it's just about it just makes them more efficient. Basically, it's an efficiency play at this point. But really, what I want is, let's say the lead designer Simon, I just want him working on main images, right? So that's all I want him to be doing, and the 3D work, and then the other designers can then not need him so much and do things with AI to help them. So yeah, that's essentially where we're at. It's more of an efficiency play at this point.
Before Joe, you jump into your next question, I'll just say my beautiful assistant has brought in the beautiful deer and oak chopping boards.
There you go. What
Well, yeah, I bought it on Amazon. So yeah, we I
Send me the link. Do you ship to Germany?
Highly recommend. Joe, do you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm like, this episode is very much focused on images, but I'm curious to understand what else are you using AI in terms of optimizing your business and just day-to-day operations?
Oh, such a fun question. So just today I used we have a pest control brand, and this is the one where we're launching a lot of products on, and I just had the idea today to help us plan the launches out. I used GenSpark AI to say, right, I want a website that we can reference that shows like a calendar of when each pest in the UK spikes. So spiders will be like September, October, flies will be July, August. And it generated the best, like honestly, just a beautiful website, way too pretty, and really clear, nice colors. It was perfect. I couldn't believe it. And GenSpark is quick too. Like it did it in no time, whereas Manus would have taken 15 minutes, and this took about 3. So I'm blown away. And then so there's basically no part of the business that hasn't got a bit of AI now. I'd like to think that. So all most of our listings are written with GPTs that we've made. With all the stuff that Danny's come out with as well, we've incorporated that. The semantic stuff and the Cosmo stuff. We use it. So I have quite a fun one that I made, which is like a customer objections GPT. So essentially, you just type in any generic product, and it will spit out common objections that customers might have for this product. So, for example, the chopping board that Max has shown is made of bamboo. So the most common one is that you can't put it in a dishwasher. So
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've been putting mine in the dishwasher.
Well, yeah, you might need another one soon. So that's a common one. So we need to address that in an image of some sort. And it basically spits out all the objections that someone might have, and then an image idea of how to do it. So will it blunt my knives will be quite an example one, and then you can show like bamboo is perfect for not blunting a knife and this kind of thing. So you should do polling for this and find out the objections that way, but it's so quick, and every time it does it just makes sense. So there's basically no part of the business, like I said, I've got more time myself these days, and I'm always playing with the tools and trying to find ways of coming up with stuff. Another one that we've done, this was using Manus, so I've looked at, say, the US and German chopping board market, and then I've shown it the UK market and said, look, what is missing? What are we missing here that the Americans and German market has? And it's gone away and researched it, and there's multiple like niches that we can do within the UK market that the others are selling in the US. And it took all my Manus credits out in one hit, but it did a great job. So we know what is selling in the US that no one in the UK is doing yet. So we're going to concentrate on that next. Another thing that we're doing recently, so there's a very demonstrable product that's selling an obscene amount of units on Facebook. I wanted to get the exact ingredients for that. So I took the website, took their, it's a D2C site. I took their website, put that into deep research and said, look, I want to know exactly how they're making this. What are the ingredients? How are they getting this effect? And and put that in, and again took a long time, but came back with an incredible report of likely ingredients that they've used, where to source them, the costing, how much it would cost to do in the UK, the US, and then China. And so I just think with AI at the moment, it's what can you think rather than what can it do.
Yeah,
If you can think it up, it can do it.
that's it. I find that a lot of the problems is that people are not imaginative enough in terms of actually the potential uses. They look at that in a very 2D way, and actually you can use so many different creative inputs like images, data, like sources, and ask it to do so many different things. It's just that people don't know that this is even possible. Like, I just think about something like Claude artifacts and how many different things you can build even in there, and most people just use it for writing. So I completely agree. And just as a follow-up, like, do you use it in any sort of more, how can I say, more operational context around supply chain logistics? Because that is normally like the areas that don't get AI very much.
Yeah, so luckily enough, we split the org chart out, and I got all the fun stuff. My brother-in-law got all the finance and supply chain. And essentially, what that team have done is build a massive Power BI suite of all our data. Everything's in there, and the next stage is to get AI into that. To use Copilot on a Power BI of our size was going to cost tens of thousands a year, and we never did it. But now they're bringing that cost right down. So I'm hopeful in the next 2 weeks that we'll be able to leverage like Copilot essentially in Power BI, and then that will basically run the supply chain too, as well as a load of other things. Like if we get this right, it can run PPC for us in a pretty automated way, and potentially other things too. But yeah, I'd say in terms of inventory control and stuff like that, we're probably a little behind because we're sort of doing things manually. Yeah, I think just a strategic point, we've started to massively cut down on the products that we're doing, trying to do fewer of them and do them bigger and better, and that's simplified supply chain quite a bit also. So yeah, so the answer is not yet, but it's definitely coming, and it might even be the next month by the time we can get our hands on this Copilot thing and sort this out.
Nice.
So I want to come back to, we've mentioned it twice now, and I imagine many of our listeners will not be super familiar with it, and that's GenSpark. So do you want to give a bit of background, Sim, about what GenSpark is?
Well, Manus came out about a month ago, wasn't it? And just took the world by storm, and it was a few weeks after DeepSeek as well, which crashed the stock market. It was so good. So GenSpark is essentially, well, I've only done maybe 5 prompts on it in total. Every single time I'm shocked. It's better than Manus. It's quicker than Manus, and you get more uses out of it. So if you do a complicated, so that the one I did about the formulation of that D2C product, that took 900 credits of the 1,000 that you get free with Manus. It took it ages, whereas GenSpark did it in honestly under 5 minutes. I don't know how they're doing it. It's crazy. It's agentic AI tool essentially.
They kind of market themselves as a super agent, and I'll be honest with you, I heard of it, I never tried it. As you were talking, I put it up on my screen. Some prompts are very complex, as we talked about deep research. You touched upon that as well, Sim. So for some stuff, you kind of have to set it and let it kind of run for like 20 minutes. So for example, I've got a bunch of websites for like at a conference I'm going to in Bulgaria, a bunch of websites, people who connect with me, and I want to know like what the annual revenue of these companies are. So it's like it's a big problem. Like it's a deep research problem. Back in the day, you would have some analysis well, I wouldn't have anyone, but if I was a bigger company, you'd have an analyst going and like, I can't say that word, can I?
Analyst.
Going through and like going on all the websites and looking at the traffic data and trying to like estimate who's worth my time kind of meeting, right? And with Grok is one I normally use. I always put the prompt in, your best in class McKinsey analyst. Please do this. Use your bet. get the real revenue. If you can't figure it out, use your best judgment. And that seems to be pretty well. And I just put it into GenSpark, which I've used for the first time live on the podcast. And yeah, crazy. It not only did it do it in like a minute, but it also managed to get every single a revenue figure for every single company. And normally Grok or OpenAI deep research miss someone's at the end because they kind of are like, oh, this has gone beyond my token limit now, and I'm just going to return back NA or whatever. So very, very cool. I'm definitely going to play around with that one a little bit more.
I think as well that the most important switch, and I'm not sure when this. Oh, sorry. I'm not sure when this switch happened, but the deep research tools started to be able to read Amazon pages and read Amazon SERPs. That wasn't the case a while ago. So now you can, like I said, with the research for the chopping board markets and the niches, you can do that now, and you couldn't do that a month ago. So I don't know what change made, because they used to have the problem of when they tried to access the Amazon SERPs that the verification code would kick in and just they couldn't run it basically. But now for whatever reason they can. So there's another, like on GenSpark, I put in one of our niches and I said, what are the commonalities with all these offerings on the first page, essentially? Which one stands out to you? Like break down the pricing, all this stuff, and it gave the insanely detailed report that would take a brand manager quite a while to compile. It's honestly, every day I'm doing something that's blowing my mind with AI. It's crazy. But this Amazon SERP thing and the fact it can read listings is it leveraged right. It's extremely powerful.
Joe, have you posted to your 30,000 followers on LinkedIn about GenSpark yet?
Not yet. I am still rinsing the AI imagery, and then I'm jumping on the agentic bandwagon.
To go on that. But that is insane. I'm going to update the title when I publish this to GenSpark at the bottom, because I think, that is insane. Go on, Joe.
Yeah. No, actually, I want to kind of sit on the toolkit for a bit. Like, what is your AI toolkit? What are the tools that you actually use?
The only one that I've subscribed to and actually stuck with the entire way has been ChatGPT. So I have inadvertently got 2 subscriptions. So I've got a personal one, then I signed everyone up on a Teams account for the business, and I ended up with a Teams one. Didn't even know this, so I was kicking off at them saying, "Why am I paying twice?" But now I love it because I can get 2 deep researches going at the same time, 2 image gens going at the same time. So I'm double leveraged now with ChatGPT. The other ones I use, Manus, GenSpark. I'm not paid yet. I will be with GenSpark. I think it's certainly the way to go.
So Manus is another one of these Chinese ones, right?
Yeah, Manus is essentially well, I found it quite reassuring when I first used it, how long it was taking. It's almost like quite a positive sign, isn't it? You trust it 'cause it's taking ages. But then GenSpark went and did it in a third the time, and I was like, oh, okay. So, what else are we using? Honestly, right now, that's it. Image Gen for images. We did use Midjourney, but I prefer Image Gen. So we're using, it's OpenAI again, but we're using Sora actually. So with Image Gen, Sora can create 4 images at once. Well, I didn't know that until about 2 days ago. Game changer. So now, like Midjourney used to do, you put in a prompt and it would bang out 4 different variations. So Sora does that with the Image Gen side. So we're using that. But right now, as it stands, they're the 3 that we use, and Copilot, obviously within our Microsoft subscription.
Are you unsubscribing from Midjourney? You getting rid of that? Now we have. Wow.
Yeah, that went a while ago. It really is because I love Midjourney, but it's I actually preferred it in the Discord days. But it's I think Image Gen is better.
I don't
know. Very fickle though. I think everyone is.
I wouldn't rule out what Midjourney is going to come back with. I think they have enough to go about to innovate. I mean, I subscribed for the yearly subscription just so that I can get access to the editor, which before obviously ChatGPT 4o was the closest way you can manipulate a product image with a background. Of course, still like kind of fudge things up at some points, but it was still a pretty good way to integrate a product into a AI sort of background.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna, you know, for the purposes of the podcast, sometimes I like to be a little bit controversial because I you know, we don't want it all to be loving and singing and agreeing with each other. So I'm gonna push back a bit back on you, Sim, and you know, tell me why I'm wrong. But I think like people using GPTs, is in my mind a 2023 software. You know, you upload like 10 documents or whatever the limit is. I don't know the exact limit now, but it's not a huge amount of data. They don't go live to the internet. Why on earth would you be doing product listings with GPTs? Like we're talking about Gen Spark here. Like we're talking about such more advanced AI. Like doing stuff in GPT for me is like, it's super hallucinogenic in my experience of using them.
I think you're probably bang on, to be honest. No, the only reason we haven't done it yet is for time, and essentially, it's still sort of me in the business that pushes the AI stuff. And right now, I'm having all my fun with images rather than trying to reinvent product optimization, which is obviously a lot less exciting. But yeah, I completely agree. I think the next thing, so a GPT is like you say, 2023, 2025 will be how to make this into like an agent that does it at speed and can even list it for you, right?
Well, actually, I think more my point is like when we build e-content, we have something called RAG. So it like you put data into the prompt that you know. So for example, conversion data or keyword data or you know impressions data or audience data, and not just like in the GPT style. You can do this in like a, I don't want to be rude, but like a 10-year-old, like, oh, let's have this thing. But you can't really put like you can't connect it to live data at all. You know, so to me, like people who like, I mean, obviously we have a WhatsApp and a lot of people in my WhatsApp love the GPTs and are using it. And I'm always thinking like it's out of all the stuff we talked about today, like I think OpenAI experimented with GPTs and then they kind of stopped doing anything. I mean, they could be amazing if they enable you to essentially like fine tune and RAG. But actually, the way you do that is through the APIs. You know, like people like us or whoever else are doing that through the APIs, and the GPTs is more like a little playground in my mind. It's not like an actual. You can't build a proper software in there.
Yeah, but again, I will push back and say, like, you know, does it have to be so super duper whatever? I mean, let's face it, in most categories, people are basic bitches. There will be the same type of benefits, use cases, and so forth and so on. And you have always a specific brand tone of voice and how you present your brand. So do you have to reinvent the wheel every time? Probably not. You can like build a pretty good functional custom GPT that will spit listings that work day in, day out. So I think, yes, for certain things, it's worth to like have all of this bells and whistles, like, you know, complexity, real-time data, da, 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 da. But for most Amazon sellers, it's just about having an optimized flow that works and gives them pretty good product listings without it having to be super duper.
The one that I mentioned, Max, it's actually a rewriter. So these are taking the old sort of data dive written listings, put it in there, and it spits it, and then you basically put in the keywords that really matter, and then it will bring it back. It'll bring it back in a more you know, semantic way. So for that purpose, it's working quite nicely. It doesn't need to necessarily be connected to anything or need a load of data. It's just a language.
You put the audience
switch,
in. Are you
it?
saying this is the audience? You obviously know your audience. I'm guessing.
Yeah, but it will just it will know from the product. That's sort of implied. But it's basically what we've done is we've made the changes. Everything reads better now, and it's made no difference to rankings at all. So that's been nice because when you set this thing loose and you move away from the data dive sort of way of doing it and cramming it full of keywords, and then all of a sudden you just remove that, it hasn't made any difference at all. So
this
nice.
is a topical one that like I often get asked, and I'd love your view, Sim, which is I think I don't want to call out names in the industry, but I think legacy SEO tools, I'll call them, have told people, oh, don't change stuff all at once. Like do a tweak here and then a tweak there and a tweak there and a tweak there. What's your view on that? As you say, you've made changes and not really seen any impact. Do you just change everything, or do you do like the one bullet point first and then the next one 2 weeks later?
Oh no, we changed the whole thing at once. Yeah, but we did it listing at a time. So we didn't like try and do like as we call them hero products straight away. We just did smaller and worked our way up, just to test that the keywords wouldn't move around.
I mean, honestly, my theory on this is that the people who are selling that narrative are selling subscription models, and they're trying to keep people subscribed for 6 months longer by doing less. That's my only logic, because I don't think it works like that. And from all the data I've seen from everything, it's interesting. You think the same?
Yeah, I know a lot of sellers as well, and I don't know anyone that said I've changed my title to a semantically written one that had say 3 of the main keywords in it or whatever, and it's not worked out well. Like I've not heard that story once, and so yeah, I don't think anyone should be really fearful of that. If you've got a keyword stuff title, then you should be looking to move that on.
And actually, this leads to a nice topic. You mentioned before that you've already kind of optimized your listings for Cosmo and Rufus. Have you seen, as a result of that, like significant increases in terms of revenue? Like, have you seen, based on the new framework, any significant uplifts?
Honestly, no. I can't really attest to this being. We wouldn't have a split test. I can say is like definitely worked, and it's not something that I'm personally deeply involved in. We have 2, like we call them Amazon listing specialists, that are the ones that sort of go in and will be deep diving this and ensuring that things are covered. So that, the questions that Rufus would ask or is suggesting that you ask, that they covered. And we do seed like the Q&A quite a bit, but I don't have a split test that says we did this and X happened. We just don't have that.
So you've been doing a high level Cosmo refresh, to paraphrase, where you just talk about the semantic stuff, how the product is used, who the audience is, who the season is. That correct? So you're just kind of getting rid of the keyword stuffing. You're not really answering Rufus, but you're just making it a little bit more semantic and contextual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
And that's basically driven not much change to the business.
I can't basically attribute it to changes that we've made. It's more, as we see it, it's more like future proofing.
Yeah,
but the thing is that we change so much. We change so much all the time that it's hard to say it's definitely this.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I'm really curious because, you've at least before I met you, I knew about you as kind of the expert on images, and you are doing the the podcast Main Image Monthly. So you've kind of carved yourself as a name in the industry in terms of this in-depth image expertise. How did you get to here? How did you start geeking about images so much?
So just a bit quick history of the business, and I'll keep this very quick. We used to be on a program called the Brand Accelerator Program, and what this was, if you remember, it had the featured from our brands placements that used to go around on a lot of keywords. Amazon would basically put brands that they own, or in our case sort of co-own, right at the top. So number 1 spot, feature from our brands, and even if you try and bid and beat that, you wouldn't be able to. It would be that one. And so a lot of our brands were on that program, and it basically was incredible in some ways. Our revenue was going nuts, but the margins weren't great. They really pushed down, but they did all our PPC for us because they were just putting us number 1 on any keyword that mattered. And it was papering over cracks. So when we came off of this program, it was sort of banned worldwide, as it should have been, because it was pretty dodgy, even from the inside. It was definitely some shady stuff going on. But that was banned. And then we got left to our own devices. We had to look at PPC again, and we had to actually look at our images, because before if you just get input number one, it doesn't really matter what your images are. You just going to get so much traffic that you're going to make money anyway. And so I was in it's quite a few different case studies, but the one that I've mentioned quite a bit is one where we were at our first sort of mastermind event, myself, my brother-in-law, Jack, who runs the business with me. This was in Bermuda, and it was like an ASIN teardown section where you put your ASIN up on the screen, and all these smart people go and rip it apart, essentially. And ours just got absolutely brutalized. And then it just opened my eye into, oh, right, okay, so there's a different way. I think, we missed this. We should have done this. It looks small. Like, we made the product look small because we added this bit or whatever. And so then that mastermind was regrouping 6 months later. So the plan was, as I left Bermuda, I said, right, we're going to make every single change that they did, and then I'm going to present in 6 months and show them the difference that it made. And just with one main image change, we actually turned down PPC instead of turning it up. We turned it down because we were selling so many that the stock became a problem. We went from ranking, say, 12, 13 to literally 1 on everything. We were like 18 in lawn and garden in the UK at one point, all from one image change. It was like that transformative. And then I was like, right, we just this is the only thing I'm going to do now, because it's the only thing that can really do that. Like you got the best PPC people in the world. They can't make a change as drastic as that, as quickly as that. So that's why I truly believe that as a founder or as senior people in a business, the main image in particular is by far the most important thing you should be focusing on. It has the ability to completely transform a product. It can make or break a product. And done right, you can go into pretty much any niche. I know that I think the guy Mills, is it from IntelliV? He's done quite a bit of he's talked quite a bit about his main image and what they've done and how they thought they could win on main image, essentially, and based on customer objections and stuff like this. And yeah, we treat it the same way. Do we always get it perfect? No, but it's always a testing process. We take a lot of risks with it, and honestly, it's a really fun thing to get involved in as a founder. There's much, rather than getting stuck in supply chain or something, trying to make the main image resonate with customers as best you can is quite enjoyable for me, to be honest.
And just one follow-up question, like how often do you test new main images?
So we have a lot of products, and so what we did, we tiered them. So we have a hero tier, A plus, A, and a B, and then like a discontinued one. The ones that get the most attention are new launches. Like I say, with that UK brand, we're launching constantly on them, so they get a lot of attention. And then we sort of systematically will go down the hero tier and go, could we maybe get this point across better? And now there's plenty of smart people in the business that are also looking at these things, going, could we showcase this feature better? Could we move this around? Is this bright enough? Is this popping enough? And we'll make the changes that way. But in terms of a systematic way of doing it, it would be looking at competition. So your brand managers looking in at the SERP, have they made changes? Are your rankings falling? In which case you might need to do something. It's just stuff like that. You either can be proactive or reactive, but you need to be doing one of them at least, because I think if you just get stuck doing the same thing, you're just going to end up being mediocre. And also, people will start copying you as you start to lead. We've definitely found that. So yeah, then you've got to iterate again.
That was going to be my question, because I see how you've built a very successful business, and but I see almost the defensibility of a good main image is it's a tough one. It's not like having a differentiated product, which you also may have, but if you have a differentiated main image, it just takes the competition to look at it and copy you, and you can't trademark putting a pop-up on the image, right? So how do you think about defensibility with this? I mean, obviously the strategies work for you very well, and for most sellers who aren't as active as you are, you can win. But like, if you're in a competitive category, people who also know what they're doing, what do you do there?
One, We're not in niches where it's that cutthroat. So if you're in like vitamin C and you made a change and you started crushing
Yeah.
vitamin C, everyone is going to follow you and quickly.
Yeah.
I'm in pest control brand niches where every brand is older than your mum's dog, and you've got plenty of time to move around because these are like legacy brands that are going to be very slow to change. And then also branding. So not only do you want a great main image that shows the
Mhm.
product well, you want, say, ways to brand that so that it is defensible. So like our the main image for our chopping boards they're good, they're not great, but the branding, every time you stick that branding on a chopping board, it sells like crazy.
Yeah.
And
Branding obviously is a lot, that is a pillar of defensibility you can build a business around. So that makes sense. And I think it is very smart. What you say is actually you can kind of pick your competitors, right? Like you can go into really old school, tough niches with the view of being an agile company, and you can disrupt them.
Yeah, I
Actually,
think we're talking. So I'm talking at Seller Sessions Live with Dorian next month, and we're going to be. It's very likely we're going to be discussing this pest control brand live there. I'll show you because we absolutely crushed it, and we're going against competition that the main images are just horrific. The images are really bad, and we've just gone in ultra branded and just dominated from the word go. So that'd be a really cool case study to show people, given that we're talking about imagery. So and then hopefully Dorian can improve it further live on stage. That'd be great for me, right? some free advice from Dorian's always good. So we'll see how that one plays out. But yeah, branding is a defensible bit, and then everything else. I mean, having a render as well helps because you don't need to do a photo shoot every time. You just get your designer to move the thing around, and certainly speeds things up.
And in terms of D2C, are you guys also on D2C? Like if you are, how is that working in the context of AI in terms of expansion?
We will be. So my sister also runs a e-commerce business. It's a jewelry brand, but and she has done a pretty expensive course, if I'm being honest. And they've now found an ad that's really working for them, and will pay for that course and many times over. And they've now got sort of the blueprint on how D2C sort of could look for us as well. And so the next stage is, like I said, we've got some like supply chain issues with two of our major brands. So we've got to sort those out, and then we'll hit that hard. But yeah, AI
What
is
is
going to be a
the
massive part
course?
of.
I am really curious. What is this D2C course that like cracks?
It's hang on, let me find the name. I think it's called 4 Good Profits. It's very expensive, but it worked for them. So yes, it's basically like a school community, but they've come up with an ad now, which is it's only in the UK. The product's about this big in size, so it's an easy thing to ship around, and margins are really really good for them. So the idea is that we would take our more expensive offerings on various brands and try and push them that way. But yeah, we're now absorbing my sister's. We're sort of merging, so they'll be part of our business, so they can do that for us now, which is quite nice for me. But yeah, I think with D2C that people are very AI aware. Maybe I don't know. It's just my opinion. But if you did an AI ad, I say that, but the amount of times you're on
I
TikTok and you
don't
see
think
something
that's
blatantly, I think maybe sellers are, yeah. But I saw there was one that was faking what Rihanna was saying about what perfume she wore, and the lip syncing was terrible. And this thing has 600,000 likes. And
But
the
this is
product
the
has sold
thing.
40,000 times. I couldn't believe it.
Oh my God, if you go anywhere on Facebook, it does my head in. Like literally, there's so many very obviously AI generated images, and people are like, oh my God, why is this sheep so small and cute? Because it's AI. But people don't realize it.
Yeah, yeah. The lip syncing stuff and the
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of deep faking celebrities now is gonna make people rich, I think, in the short term until people are just completely aware of it. But it's a bit shady for me. I
Yeah.
like to put my black hat on every now and again, but that's quite shady.
Well,
That is too much of a black hat.
we could honestly talk to you all day, and we will talk to you all day at Stellar Sessions, which I think, do you know the dates coming up in May?
10th of May.
10th of May. Get your
Or if
ticket.
you want to join my workshop, 9th of May, join that. That would be awesome.
We'll put that in the link, and we'll see you in a month's time in person. And yeah, it'd be good to catch up. But do you want people to reach out to you, Sim? And if so, where should they reach?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn's by far the best.
You don't have a profile
it's-
photo on LinkedIn, though, right?
I don't have a what? Sorry,
Profile photo. Or
do I not?
Ignore
Oh, I
me.
must have.
Maybe
I thought I looked quite dashing, Max, but no. Yeah, I'm sure I might try and ask Danny if I can hang around in the back of your workshop. So,
well,
it sounds really interesting for sellers. That one, to be honest.
Thank
we'll
you.
see you on
I'm
the
working.
Friday.
I'm cooking it a lot, so I think it will be really good.
Nice.
Yeah, agencies are dead, as Joe would say. Software.
I didn't say that. You should have read the rest of the post. My God, I got so much stick
It's
about
fine.
this.
Everything dies and gets reborn in this age of AI. And
Exactly.
as I said on one of these WhatsApps, like I'm thrilled because GPT 4o, yeah, they haven't got the API, but actually Imogen has the API and it's even better in my opinion. So the rising tide lifts all ships, and I think it's very exciting, and it's going to create a lot more entrepreneurs, both in the software side and also on the physical product side, make things a lot more accessible. So yeah, I think it's a good place to end it. We'll see you in London on Friday and on Saturday. And yeah, thanks for joining us, Sim.
Thanks, Sim.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.